As summer 2019 comes to a close, I wanted to talk about one of this summer's more popular anime, Demon Slayer. Hey everybody, my name is Fabio, and welcome to my Animation Corner, where I talk about my thoughts on different cartoons, animes, and maybe some other stuff too. Now, Demon Slayer doesn't need me to sing a more sensational praise than it has already been receiving. But I will stop for a second and say just how happily surprised I was about this anime. Now, a good coworker of mine recommended this show to me, and while my expectations were low at first, I've already found myself eagerly awaiting each episode every single Saturday night. Then I had to ask myself, what made the show so interesting that it made it outshine some of the other shows I was watching at the time? What made it so compelling? Was it the heart-pounding action? Was it the horrific, dark, mysterious world? Was it the emotional relationship between Tanjiro and his sister Nezuko? Could it be the talking crows? But that's what we're going to get into today. In the very first scene, the writers spare no time and immediately show us our protagonist, Tanjiro, desperately trying to save his sister Nezuko. His family gets massacred, and his sister gets turned into a demon and tries to kill him. Tanjiro's ultimate goal now is to save his sister and restore her humanity. This brief but dramatically emotional episode sets the tone for the overall series so well. As we journey through the horrific and mysterious world, we experience everything from Tanjiro's perspective. We see him struggle, we see him succeed, we see him grow, but more importantly, we see how his kind-hearted nature is constantly tested by his enemies, the world, and at times even his peers. I think Tanjiro as a character is written so simplistically, yet that makes him as a character so much more impactful. He is defined by his extremely kind-hearted nature and his determination, which contrasts actually really well with the brutal, cutthroat world he is tossed into. The writers also don't prattle on about his backstory or needless exposition to explain to us why we should care about Tanjiro. The writers show us why we should care about Tanjiro. We see him fight. We see him make difficult decisions. We want to see him win! We want to see him move forward because Tanjiro as a person is relatable. He is realistic. And we want to see him save his sister. In reality, not everyone wants to become the strongest or have some sort of grand goal of saving the world or fighting monsters or giant robots, but everyone understands love and shares that same empathy we all do of wanting to help somebody you care about. It's hard not to like Tanjiro as a character because I believe at their core, everyone can see a little bit of themselves in him and his ideals. And that is all the fuel to the fire we need to create a simplistic but raw, emotional, interesting story and a protagonist. The narrative narrowly focuses on Tanjiro and his backstory, and as the story progresses, there's a slow but natural development that encompasses the world and the greater mysteries at hand. It's this subtle shift in writing and perspective that makes each episode feel more engaging and more interesting. I want to see what Tanjiro will do next because it is his actions alone that are driving the forward motion of the story and our understanding of the world. Now, it never feels like the entire show comes to a screeching halt as the story asks the action to take a back seat, while the plot takes a whole episode to expand upon several character introductions, plot points, backgrounds, etc. Rather, I think the opposite's entirely true. I think the simplistic, narrow focus of Tanjiro's perspective and character allows the writers actually more flexibility in balancing both the fight scenes and the plot, so well that every episode feels, actually even every scene feels just so purposeful, and that there's never a dull beat. Now, when I say perfect pacing, I am not saying each episode is jam-packed full of fight scenes, drama, comedy, and the plot drives crazy fast. No, I mean that the storyline, exposition, the action scenes, the character development are all organically written and done at the same time in a way that is quite appealing to myself. It never feels like everything comes to a grinding halt for the story to pull out a massive pill of exposition, flashbacks, backgrounds, and world building just shoved down my throat for several minutes, only for the story to resume several minutes later, completely taking me out of the experience. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy deep world building, lore, etc., but oftentimes I feel like shows heavily rely on these writing techniques instead of letting us, the viewers, actually learn more about the world ourselves, either through the perspective of one of their characters or on our own. And I feel like Demon Slayer nails this pacing perfectly. Sure, some of you might argue that some of the first episodes are a bit slow, but I think that these few episodes are the core for the series, as they do so much to solidify Tanjiro as a character. They solidify his resolve, his growth, Nezuko's reality, and the beginning of their harsh journey ahead of them. Without these few foundational episodes to establish Tanjiro's training, his goals, the rest of the episodes would just kind of fall apart and feel empty, as the plot quickly picks up from there after that. Okay, I'm just gonna take a minute here and just gush for a second. I freaking love all the character designs from Demon Slayer. The more recent episodes where they introduced all the Hashiras absolutely did it for me, as there is some strong, beautiful character design here. Now, each important character has their own uniquely designed robe, color palette, and even distinct eyes. Each distinct eye color choice, accessory, design are also expressive and purposeful. It gives each character a refreshing yet eloquent feel to them, as they are so compelling, and it makes you want to know more about that character before they're even introduced or they've even said a word. I mean, their eyes alone tell you so much about that character, and that they're so definitively unique and vivid. Some of the characters of importance are also given this cool double hair flare. Like Tanjiro, for example, has this little green touch to his. Nezuko has red. I wish I could say more with the other characters, but it's this little little extra twist that is just so creative and so really fun to look at. It gives all these characters so much more personality, and it's a very creative, stylish twist that doesn't sacrifice minimalism for extravagance, which I personally really like. Tanjiro is later accompanied by Zenitsu, Agatsuma, and Inosuke Hashibira, who form one of the most bizarre and interesting trios I have ever seen. Each of these characters can be, simplified and broken down to one word each. Kind, cowardly, wild. However, nothing particularly, unique or avant-garde here. Yet, the circumstance, responsibility, and more prominently, the horrific situations these three are just tossed into pull me to the edge of my seat by the end of every episode, leaving me perplexed what is to come next. At times, our heroes are thrown into these intense, life-or-death situations, yet the internal conflict between them is far more compelling and interesting. Almost every episode so far has left me asking myself, how the hell are these guys getting out of this one? How are they going to work together to figure this out? It's this weird, simple, but fun dynamic that these three characters have, forms such an interesting, complex trio that I really look forward to see how they develop moving forward with these guys. Okay, I almost didn't want to get into this. However, there is one thing I've really disliked about the series so far. Okay, during that major fight scene that happened fairly recently between Tanjiro and Spiderweb Kid, Rui, it really took me out of it when, during such a dramatic, climactic moment, we had that really weird flashback about Tanjiro's dad and this supremely secret breathing technique. Like, this felt very jarring for me, and the timing of it actually really threw me out what was supposed to be a really fun, epic moment. Now, hear me out here. I know it's not uncommon that during a peak moment in an anime battle, for there to be a flashback or a long, drawn-out discussion between characters. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about that. That's actually one of my favorite things about anime. I love you, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. However, at this point in the story, we've barely even heard a word about Tanjiro's dad, or even this amazingly powerful, game-breaking breathing technique. I mean, what really doesn't make sense to me is that in this flashback, when Tanjiro is a kid, his father teaches him about this ultimate technique. Tanjiro's, very, very young at this age. The plot goes on, and is training several years later. You have Tanjiro learning about, breathing techniques from his master. And at no point during his 2 years of training when he remembered the super duper rare technique his dad taught him, specifically about breathing techniques. Like, how about not being a salty Sandra about this? Don't get me wrong, like, I love the fight scene, thought the web guy was a great character, but stopping all the builds-up momentum and drama of that fight, just to squeeze out this little bit of exposition, just took me completely out of the moment, and I think it didn't add to the climax, rather it took away from it. Weird chronological breathing technique thing aside, at this point, putting a plot point that was not somewhat hinted or alluded to earlier feels like it's just jammed on in there and random. That's stemming from something that was previously established by the series. This doesn't feel organic, and it just feels weird. Yeesh, I am glad we got that out of the way. I am sorry. So, in conclusion, Demon Slayer, I think it's a great anime. Certainly one that I've been enjoying quite a great deal recently, and really look forward to seeing where it goes. Now, if you've been thinking about seeing it, or you're just looking for something new to jump into, I hope this video encourages you to check it out for yourself. However, if you didn't agree with my opinion, hey, that's cool too. Tell me more about it in the comments. I mean, you put up with me going on for several minutes, yapping my brains out of that anime. It's only fair that I hear your opinion too. Thanks for watching, guys. See you around.
Bye.